All right. What's up, friends? We are recording a live episode today. Got to record the backups. All right. Welcome back to another episode of NFT 365. And for me, this is an exciting episode. I'm ready and pumped as we have a kind of a cool countdown. And you might even get a little Tim McGraw singing here in this episode. But first, we are sponsored by the Crypto Business Conference. It is an event for marketers, creators, entrepreneurs who want to better understand and create that Web3 strategy. Excited to have them on as one of our sponsors for the podcast and everything that we have going on here at NFT 365. And today being episode 245, one of the things that that I'm excited about is looking into the future, the next 120 days. Yes, that is correct. We will hit our 365 number in 120 days from now. And we've gone 245 days, and buying an NFT every single day has been not only an adventure, but it's something that I continually learn, teach myself, grow. And one of the NFTs that I wanted to highlight on today's episode is actually an episode or an international NFT, and it like hit me a little bit that we talk a lot about diversifying our NFT, and not having everything just be white males in America driven NFTs. But we also have to really tap into kind of the different international NFTs that are out there. And so today, the NFT that we minted yesterday is actually, or 2 days ago, is the name of the collection is Gloomin. Gloomin. So Gloomin is the name of the collection. The team is based in Germany and Spain. And what I feel, one of the neat things that they're doing, I think the art is creative. They have a background in 3D and blockchain as the founders, and they're really building a treasury and a DAO for the Kids in Need Foundation, and really hopefully educating and inspiring kids in need. And so I love their they have a kind of a really cool roadmap that they've set up. They've also done a great job of telling a great story on their website, kind of connecting the dots. And this is definitely a slow burn, just to put that out there for those that listen to the podcast. This is definitely a slow burn. I believe they minted a little over 200 or so on day one of their mint, so they're still available out there right now. I believe mint was 0.04, but it actually ties perfectly into when I've been looking at like this whole journey, right, starting on November 11th, 2021. Not only was that 245 days ago, but we talk a lot about in the NFT space, the idea of how fast time goes and how quickly things kind of evolve. And I just have to, for me, part of that is also just like, knowing where we've came, understanding where we are going, but also appreciating how far we've already come. And when I was thinking about episode 120, and I was excited to actually record this episode on the day, the 120, so not 420. So you can still puff pass if that's what you are, if you are playing in that recreation. But 120 days, and a couple songs came to my mind. I am a music. We can just call it a music. I used to say a music whore, but I don't think that's the right terminology, but we'll just go with that. I like music of every single genre. There's really not a genre of music that I don't love. Maybe techno, maybe that's only the genre I don't, not a huge fan of. But I love everything from Wu-Tang Clan to Bob Marley to Dave Matthews Band to Taylor Swift to even Kenny Chesney and Tim McGraw. And I will say that Tim McGraw, not only is he amazing musician, I've seen him in live in concert probably a half a dozen times over the years. And of course, married to Faith Hill, also happens to be an amazing actor in Friday Night Lights and 1883. If you haven't seen 1883 over there on Paramount Plus, awesome TV show, very emotional. I'll just kind of give you that. I definitely maybe cried in about 50% of those episodes, but hey, no shame in my game. That's just kind of how it works. But the Tim McGraw song, My Next 30 Years, is actually what came to kind of my mind. And I was like, what if I sang My Next 30 Years on kind of our episode 120? And then I realized I wanted you guys to listen to the next 120 episodes of the podcast. And if I was singing, I can guarantee you that it would ruin your ears, probably break your speakers that you're listening. But I will share a little bit of the lyrics. And the lyrics in that song, My Next 30 Years, it says, my next 30 years, I'm going to settle all the scores, cry a little less, laugh a little more, find a world of happiness without the hate and fear, figure out just what I'm doing here in my next 30 years. And then the next verse is, on my next 30 years, I'm going to watch my weight, eat a few more salads and not stay up so late, drink a little lemonade and not so many beers. Maybe I'll remember my next 30 years. And, that is, to me, those lyrics, kind of jump out at me in many ways. And, as I kind of teed up, not only in that sense of what, quoting the Tim McGraw song, but, there is we have a tendency to, the question that I've got the most over the last, I would say 3 weeks, 4 weeks is like, Brian, what are you doing on November 12th? And what does season 2 look like? Or what is the next phase after this 365 days are coming? And I find it really interesting that that's where everyone's mind is jumping. And I think it's natural to do that. But I think it's also just really important to recognize that in a weird way, if I stopped this daily podcast or stopped buying an NFT every single day, today, right now, if today was my last day, I decided this was too much, I would be extremely proud of what I've been able to do, the team that we've built, and really all of the things that have kind of come to life over these last, 365 or these 245 days. And I think that's an important lesson for us in the NFT space, right? It's so easy for us to Monday morning quarterback something, right? To go back and say, oh, it must be nice to have a Bored Ape Yacht Club, or must be nice to be in the clubhouse room, or must be nice to have a Goblin Town when goblins were minted, or must be nice to have that much Ethereum, or we have to, first of all, we have to get over this must be nice syndrome that we have as a society, right? It is a sign of jealousy. And it's also a sign that we not only are kind of reflecting and kind of wanting to feel bad for ourselves, but we also have to recognize we don't know how we would have handled that even if we were in those exact scenarios. And so with 120 days left, I also thought it was kind of a pretty cool thing to think about. What was 120 days ago? Because how do we wrap our head around, the amount of time? And so I will tell you, March 16th was actually 120 days ago. So if you think about it, we are here in middle of July. 120 days ago was March. March feels like ions ago. I mean, I can't even, holy cow. I mean, back in March, crypto was still, kind of at that climb, and we were a little bit concerned of where that was at. We hadn't got into the free mint phase of this whole NFT space. And, for me, that's an important component of this, right? March 16th was 120 days ago. 120 days from now will be in November 11th of 2022. And that's when we are going to sell our entire collection of NFTs. So, there is a tweet that I update. I believe we're going to create the longest running Twitter thread maybe ever, because I'm updating that Twitter thread, as I buy a new NFT each and every day. And so, but I thought it was funny because, one of the things I wanted to kind of tap in is 120 days ago or 245 days ago, what my vision was for this project, what my thoughts were about what we were doing were a lot different than they are today, right? By understanding some of the trends and some of the nuances, I'm just being truthful here. For me, a lot of this was, not what I kind of expected it to be, right? And, I didn't think about the idea of, the average floor price, the average mint price increasing and then, decreasing, and how does that affect things? I didn't think about the fact that what if I want to do multiple blockchains? How do I bring that back into a smart contract for when we, put all of these together? But one of the other things that I've heard people kind of challenge me on is they're like, Brian, like, you're the one that created these parameters around buying an NFT every single day. And just to be clear, I'm buying one every single day. We are holding on to that NFT every single day. So on 120 days from now, we're going to have 365 NFTs that we are going to sell as one mosaic. So on that day, one person will be able to buy a time capsule of what 1 year in this NFT space would look like, right? And a time capsule is really how I like to think of this, because the individual NFTs, in my personal opinion, are not as the value of the individual NFTs is actually not really what the focus or the main piece of this is. It's actually the idea of the sum of all of the parts, right? The sum of all of these NFTs as one is going to provide a view into a lot of the trends, right? Everything from expansion projects and derivative projects to women-led projects taking over in the start of the year, to this emergence of high mint price, 0.3, 0.5, 0.8 mint price of NFTs, to this like emergence of real, like, everything being PFPs, to then, all of a sudden, the VCon happens. And while we're at VCon, the other part of this kind of drops off and Goblin Town drops. And then it starts this free mint craze. And now I think where we're at today, and that's where I wanted to kind of bring this, is that we are at what I believe is the storytelling plus art plus utility equals trust stage. Like, I believe the current trend, like where we are currently at in this exact moment, is this stage of we as NFT investors and collectors, like if you are still in this space, if you are still listening to this podcast, even if you're watching live on Instagram Live, where I happen to go live for today's podcast episode, if you're listening, if you have an interest or understanding of Web3, you are in a phase where the truth is we have more data, more information, more access, and we are more skeptical than we have ever been before in this NFT space. And I think that's actually a powerful thing, because it's very much like the Web 2 commerce world, right? If we think about this, over the years, in the, let's say 2010, 2015, we as consumers, like we would go into a store like Best Buy or Circuit City, into like a brick and mortar store, and we would ask the people that worked there questions, right? We would say, I'm not sure which, do I want to buy an iPod Touch or an iPod with like the dial reel, whatever that may be. And we would trust in the fact that the brands and the people that worked at these businesses knew more than we did, right? It's really how the consumer market has always been, right? The idea that, there is kind of always been like this little bit of arrogance from marketers and sales, where it's like, hey, we know what the audience wants. We know what people are looking for. And, it's just our job to get them there. And part of that comes into like, an education play. But if you think about it from like 2015 to 2020, I believe the consumer all of a sudden became smarter than we've ever been before. And not only would we go outside to check Amazon prices, but we would read reviews, and we would actually go into brick and mortar stores and in many cases know more than those that work there. We would have a better idea and grasp of what we were comparing things against. Now, with great data and extra information and more choices, that doesn't always equal better selections, right? We could even argue that in some cases, because we are inundated with so many choices, oftentimes that overwhelming, either, for me, as someone with neurodiversity, it'll often lead me to make no decision, right? I don't know about you that listen to this, but like, if I have so many options and so many choices, and I start to evaluate things here and I start to evaluate things here, all of a sudden it's too much. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to do it another time. And Lord knows I don't ever really get back to those type of things. But there's also oftentimes this overwhelming piece of like, there's so much data and so much information that we're just going to pick a couple data points that matter to us, like that we think that matter to us. And then we're just going to jump on it, right? We're just going to lean into it and we're going to, make that decision. And funny enough, like this also kind of hit me yesterday was, Prime Day for Amazon Prime. And I don't know about you, but I actually like Amazon Prime Day better than I like Black Friday, just me personally. I've always found like really great deals and things that are happening on that day. But we also live in a world where there's free returns, right? So like for me yesterday, I was researching some new lighting here for my home office, some neon lights, some things that I want to do with my smart home. And, part of that research, I was realizing that, man, there's a couple of options that I really like, but I wasn't sure which one I wanted. Well, guess what I did? Because Amazon, it's a Prime deal, so the deal is only for that day. And I knew I get free return shipping. I bought both of the options that I had and said, I'll try both of them out and I'll just return whichever one it is that I don't like, that I don't want to use. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Brian, what does this have to do with NFTs? How do you bring us forward? Well, if you think about it, we are living in NFTs really represent digital ownership. And we've never had digital ownership before. And really, Amazon kind of represents a lot of what digital ownership is. Because if you think about it, when we are, I remember, even what was the shoe company? I can't remember the shoe company that came off the top of my head where we were Zappos. There it is, Zappos. And I had got to meet the CEO, back in the day. And I loved what Zappos represented, right? It was the idea where you could buy the shoes, try them on and return them and kind of make it as if you were in the store shopping, but it was delivered to you. And that idea of, if we don't like something, we can return it. And in many cases, we're not forced to make a long-term commitment. That's what NFTs represent. I mean, how many people that are listening to this that you decided to buy a coaching, a coaching package from an entrepreneur online that was sold you for a 1-year coaching package? Or how many people have bought an online course and they were like, hey, this online course, and it tees it up for you? And then how many people a month, 3 months, 6 months into that online course or that coaching program, did you realize that you were kind of sold a fake bill of goods? Or maybe your mission had changed, or maybe you just no longer had the time commitment to leverage what you had purchased. Well, for the most part, you were SOL, or shit out of luck. And that's kind of the world that we lived in with Web 2. In Web 3, when we are buying an NFT and we are owning that access, that rights to what we are, kind of purchasing, we have the beautiful option of holding it and doing nothing with it, holding it and taking advantage of the utility. Or if we either no longer are interested, they're not backing up what they told us they would do, or in some cases, our priorities have changed, we have the ability to transfer that, to sell that, because we own an NFT. We own that access, that ability to actually kind of get that deliverable. And the reason I say all of that is because it's actually better than free return shipping in a way, because it's really there's no like, in the first 60 days, you can return it to get your money back. Well, in NFTs, it could be 3 years from now. And you're like, you know what? I no longer need this access. I'm going to sell my NFT. And this power dynamic is really putting the power back in our hands as owners, as digital consumers. And when I think about the next 120 days, and I remember, don't worry, I'm not going to sing a little Tim McGraw here, but if I think about the next 120 days, the way that I look at this market for the next 120 days is that we are going to see really where people's are not only showing up, but I've said this before. Every business, every person that's listening to this, we are all in the same business. Every single one of us are. We are all in the business of trust, building trust, maintaining trust, scaling trust. And when we think about trust in this digital landscape, especially going through a recession and there's a war on the other side of the world, here in the United States, we have a very divided country on numerous different topics and things that are going on here. When we think about all these, let's just say external factors, when it comes down to it, the fact that we have power, we have control, and we have the ability to, help amplify and help support people that are doing good things, but we also have the ability to jump off of something and say, you know what, this is no longer associated with my values. This is no longer something that I support. And so, I'm really excited about what we've done till today, right? 245 days of buying an NFT every day, creating a podcast episode every day. But I'm not satisfied. I believe that we've learned a lot. We are creating an amazing time capsule that we will be able to sell as one mosaic, come November 11th. But I also feel as an early adoption, NFT space, we still have a long way to go. And here's the truth. I'm an optimist. I'm an extreme optimist. I'm an optimist with technology. I'm an optimist in humanity. I believe personally that a majority, if not 99.9% of people are good people that have good intentions. And I think a lot of people are either born or raised into bad scenarios or bad limitations that many of us don't have to worry about, which then ultimately leads people down other paths. And I'm very optimistic and passionate about the NFT space, about the blockchain. But here's the truth. 120 days, things won't be that different or that, all of a sudden everything is fixed with NFTs. And here's even the crazier part. 365 days from right now, 1 year from now, I believe we will still be working on education. We will still be working on cutting through the noise. We will still be working on security and onboarding new people into this NFT space, into this world that we're in. While at the same time, I look at the next 120 days as that the projects that survive, the projects that thrive, are the projects that understand it is not about what you've done in the past. It's about your ability to adapt moving forward. It's your ability to communicate and deliver on what you're promising. And it's also about that empowering of ownership, right? How excited are we? And I will tell you, this is where, when I look at this as a whole, a lot of NFT projects should have asked this question to themselves 120 days ago. And I mentioned 120 days ago was, let's see, what was it? It was March 16th. So when I think about it 120 days ago, what if you were launching an NFT project? One of the things I believe you should have asked yourself was, do I want to sell out my NFTs so I get a bunch of my, my budget and I make a lot of the money that I have so that I can do what I want to do, but I don't really care who was a part of it? Or do I prefer to get the right people in the project and for it to take 120 or 240 days to sell out? The reason I think that is such an important component of this entire journey is that right now where we are at in this current market, if the utility and the project and the art and the storytelling and the team aren't connected to us, if we don't have that, that affinity to what is being built, we have pretty much no problem selling that NFT project. And in many cases, I've seen this tweet a lot where people are like, you know what, I'm going to step away from the NFT crypto space for a couple months. I believe the people that are stepping away right now are the people that didn't jump into projects that the utility made sense to them. They jumped into the projects that they FOMO'd, or that they thought were going to make them a lot of money, or that their friends were doing, or that was, tweeted out by somebody, or by, another project kind of guilting people, or, a giveaway, or you kind of get caught up in the momentum. Because those of us that have bought into NFT projects that had the utility and the community that we truly cared about, guess what? The market going up and down has no impact on that. Like, if a project is still delivering utility and the community is still showing up and as strong as they were when the project launched, right now, it does not matter what a market is actually doing, because what we actually signed up for is being delivered. Just like on Amazon, right? I bought something, and when I bought it, what I ordered is actually what I got, and I have no problem not returning it. But for so many projects, they sacrificed getting the right people at the right time into their project to just get all the people in there so they could sell out, so they could, trend on icy tools. And I think, unfortunately, the byproduct of that, the down road part of that, is that It's why people now are flipping and selling it. They buy an NFT for $500 and they're selling it for $11 today. Like, if you're going to sell it for $11, I mean, why not hold it and see if it has a chance to go up, right? Like and part of that is like, you know what? I don't really care about this NFT. I probably never did. And I'm willing to kind of sell that or flip it or put it out there. And so just to put it out there, for me, the next 120 days are exciting. For me, I'm doubling down on projects that have great storytelling. I do not care if the project sells out. And honestly, if the project doesn't sell out, it might actually be something that I'm more excited about in a way. I'm doubling down on researching projects that are thinking about blockchain agnostic, right? That I really do think, and this is maybe the takeaway I want everybody to think about. For me, the next 120 days, this is how we have to think of our NFT projects. I believe most projects are still launching on Ethereum. But here's the truth. As an NFT project, you should launch on Ethereum for your art, your PFP, because that's where your attention is. But you should be building future utility and building future value on the blockchain that is most beneficial and the technology makes the most sense for your holders. And so a great example of that is a shout out to Meta Whips, which is the project by West Coast Customs. We had the team here on the podcast back in December. We also minted them in our collection. They just announced the beta of their game, and their NFT launched on Ethereum, and it was without question a slow burn NFT project. And they ended up selling 1,193 of them. And the reason I know that is because, 93. I love that number. 1,993. 93 is my hockey number, a number that I care about a lot. It's actually the year they were founded in 1993. West Coast Customs, Pimp My Ride, Exhibit. And what I'm excited about was yesterday I got to see previews of their next phase of utility that they told us in December that they were building. They've been building it for over a year already. They launched their NFT in December, but they've been building this over a year. And that game and those components are on Solana, and you're gonna be able to leverage Solana and some of the other blockchains for the delivery of that. And so I'm really excited about the next 120 days. I know maybe some of you were excited based on the title of this podcast episode, that maybe I would give you some alpha about what's going to happen 121 days from now. And I know my team's listening to this, and they're like, oh no, Brian, don't say something. Well, I'm not really focused on 121 days from now. I'm actually focused on tomorrow and what NFT we're going to buy tomorrow, and what NFT I believe is going to be best for our collection to hold on to until November. And so my challenge to everyone, and the way that I think we all have to think about this, is don't be afraid to reflect on where we've been, but don't let the past prevent you from making the right decisions today. And also remember, we should celebrate the things that we're doing. I believe as a society, we don't celebrate our successes enough. We really dwell on our failures and we let those consume us. But when we're successful, we don't do it. And so I'm here to tell you, like, this to me is a celebration. This is a celebration that we have 4 more months left of a 12-month project, that if you would have told me a year ago that I would do something every day for a year, I would have told you you're crazy. I have ADHD, I'm neurodiverse. Consistency is not my strong suit. And I understand its power, but it's not what I am not someone that can deliver something in a consistent manner. Well, guess what? I was wrong. And I'm teaching myself something at 41 years old, that just because consistency was something I struggled with before doesn't mean I can't learn and adapt and find ways to be better at that moving forward. And so, yes, I'm celebrating that we made it 245 days. And guess what? I'm also not satisfied. I'm also going to celebrate every day forward on this 120-day journey. And I hope you'll come with us on this journey. And I hope you'll think about this not from like the financial short term, but together we are building something that I believe not only will be a time capsule of this NFT space, but I believe we are all learning together, we are growing together, and we ultimately are going to make the world a better place by what we learn, how we think about this. And lastly, I'll just throw this out there. NFTs and the blockchain are not about the technology. The technology is not the change that we have to actually have. It's actually culture and mindset. We have to change our culture to a hold mindset or a hodl mindset that is about, if we are selling something, we better deliver, or people can sell, they can tell us that they're no longer happy by selling what they bought. And we also have to have that mindset shift and that cultural shift to recognize that we are greater than me. And that ultimately this whole beauty of Web3 and NFTs is about, leveling the playing field, making the table big enough for everyone to have a voice, and ultimately allowing and really giving us an opportunity to do what we love what we do, make the money to continue doing what we do. And in what I believe probably the most exciting part is to not feel alone and to find our people as we move forward. So I hope you guys kind of took that, thanks for coming so far on this journey. If this is your first episode listening to the podcast, thank you for jumping into the podcast. If you've listened 245 days in a row, I can't say thank you enough. You've committed a bunch of time. And so I want to celebrate you. I want to say thank you for those that have been listening since the start. You've committed a lot of your time, a lot of your days to listening and learning and kind of jumping in on this podcast. So I'm thankful for all of you that are listening. I'm thankful for the team that has come on board. We just added 4 new moderators over in our Discord. So a big shout out to our 4 new moderators that joined the team. We are now up to a team of 14 amazing human beings that are supporting the podcast, the coin, the buying an NFT every day, and of course even the the keynote speaker journey that I am on. And speaking of that journey and part of this, definitely a big shout out to our sponsor, Crypto Business Conference. One of the things that I'm excited about that event is it's really focused on not only making connections, like that networking component, but it's also focused on the ability for us to, really come together in a place that we can find our people. And I can't tell you how important that is. And I've said this for a long while, nothing we do online will ever replace the power of a handshake. Nothing we do online, no live video, no social audio. I don't care what you do. Nothing we do online will replace the power and importance of a handshake. But I do believe the more we invest online, the more we commit to the communities that we are a part of, that it's going to allow us to have more handshakes. And what I like to say is we get to turn hashtags and online digital connections into hugs and selfies and handshakes. And I'm excited to shake your hand at Crypto Business Conference. Of course, take some selfies, get to know even many more of you that are here in our community. And so I hope to see you there at the Crypto Business Conference, and beyond excited to have them as a sponsor. Last but not least, I will say, with the market where it's at, where we have gone on this journey, we have to also just be very aware of burnout. And we have to be very conscious of our mental health and prioritizing our own self-care. And so my challenge to you today on this day that we're celebrating is, it's a great day to check in on yourself. Do a little bit of self-awareness, self-discovery today. Ask yourself, how are you feeling? Where are you getting your energy from? What are the things that are taking your energy away? What are the things that excite you versus what are the things that kind of are overwhelming you? And start to ask yourself, like, how can I make small changes, and how can I prioritize things? And even maybe, how can I go touch some grass? Or in my case, how can I go jump in the pool? And so I'm going to jump off this episode. I'm going to take my daughters to the water park today. We're going to go have some fun at the water park, and then probably get home quickly so we can watch the USA women's soccer match tonight as they are in the semifinals. But for me, that's the touching the grass for me. It's that, getting outside, jumping in the water. It's the ocean, the pools, and it's spending time with, my 3 little girls. And I think for all of us, it's a great reminder that, we can get overwhelmed. And guess what? The icy tools, the cryptocurrency, all of that's going to be there when you get back. So go touch some grass. Go jump in a pool, go, hang out at the water park, go do whatever it is you do. Go ride a horse, maybe go buy an airplane ticket and go on a trip that you've been waiting to go on. There is no better time to do that than right now. So until tomorrow, my friends, make it a great day. Cheers.